Hey guys, we're going through our new fitness unit, and I've got this first slide. It's in the PowerPoint. It's actually, I think, the third slide, but you can go through and check out the different questions, refer back to the article, the discussion we had in class, some things that really are important in this class. Where are we going? Why is exercise important? What do I need to do to make up for the calories that I'm consuming during the day? So different things like that, the benefits of exercise. I'll let you go through and do that on your own. The first screen here I want to kind of point out is this screen of an average adult. So the blue squares on the screen are all the squares of the hours in a typical week. There's 168 hours. In yellow, that column on the far left is the number of hours that we spend eating in a week. So it's about 7 hours, about an hour a day is what we spend time eating. And then in red, it's the activity level that the typical adult has in the United States. So about 5 hours of activity a week. And that could include even something as simple as walking out to the mailbox and back, or it could even include their exercise at the gym. So we're not very active in general as a society, and you could see how consuming 7 hours worth of calories is not really going to be made up by 5 hours of exercise. It's a lot harder to overcome calories by burning than it is. It's far easier to actually eat them and consume them with food, so it does it a lot quicker. Now on the next slide here, an active teenager, very active teenager here, where there's a lot more activity going on. You can see how someone could maintain or even potentially have a hard time gaining weight. I had a hard time in high school gaining weight because I was very active. And the problem is that where you go from your age to where it's my age eventually, is this, and it happens rather suddenly, or maybe even subtly, to where you don't even notice that it's going on. You would just prefer sometimes to not do things. Your life gets busy, and then all of a sudden you end up here, and this is how you can tend to balloon. So if you've ever seen pictures of your parents when they were in high school, there might be some of them that look similar or close, but more than likely they've put on pounds, and some of them a lot of pounds. My father weighed 225 pounds in high school, and he ballooned all the way to over 400 pounds until he died several years ago. But you can see how over time that kind of lifestyle can really not be a good thing. So, and as it's absolutely not pointless, obviously, to exercise. We need that. We can see the benefit here. It's just a matter of, are we actually taking time to go out and do that? So these are the benefits of it. It does have a connection back to our first unit, so if you still wanted to go back and review some of those things, or if you got a good grade on your test, it's probably because you were able to make some of those connections with regard to lack of exercise, poor diet, in regards to the lifestyle unit. So I'll let you pause on this screen if you wanted to take a look and see what those benefits of exercise are. Okay, so just because somebody is older doesn't mean that they can't things that they used to. It may just not be at that same certain level. So someone who's 80 years old can still run. They're just not going to run like a 20-year-old, and different things like that. So it's really about fitting your lifestyle. So I have that last thing. Just because you're old doesn't mean you have to trade in your car keys for a cane or a walker. They can certainly still get out there and do that. And in the PowerPoint, and it's attached on Classroom, I would encourage you. Whoop, lights went. All right, back here, lights on. I would encourage you to go through and click on each one of these links. Just different people, you'd be pretty amazed at what some of these people can accomplish at their age. Some of them are things that you and I can't do. So I would encourage you to go on there, take a look at those. Might take you 5 to 10 minutes just to kind of peruse through so you can get an idea of what older people can do. And then maybe even if you've got someone in your family that's older, that's struggling, it doesn't have to be someone who's competing or someone who's in great fitness. It could be just something simple like the 80-year-old golfer that's on there. He just exercises and keeps his flexibility. He doesn't look like a guy that's in great shape, but he does it just to kind of maintain the lifestyle. He wants to golf and do things like that. So be something that you can go through and look at. So we're going to start to get into how to actually create a program and things like that. But before we get into that, there are two things you need to know. One is that there are two different types of exercise. It's anaerobic and aerobic. And so we'll get into that a little bit here in a minute. That'd be good to have your definition sheet. You'll start seeing some words in blue here. And then the 5 components of an exercise program. And one of them is actually the result of the other 4. But we'll talk about that as we get going. So here's your aerobic and anaerobic. And there are two different definitions for this. So the word aerobic actually means with the use of oxygen versus anaerobic means without oxygen. But typically for this purpose of class, what you see highlighted in yellow on your screen is what you would put in your definition sheet. So aerobic is a lower intensity activity or movement where your heart rate is elevated for an extended period of time. And you say aerobic can be with a higher heart rate, but typically it's going to be something where you can have duration, where you can do it for a long period of time. If you think about a 100-meter sprint, an Olympic athlete cannot maintain that pace for very long. I mean, maybe 400 meters, maybe even 800 meters, but beyond that, they're not going to be able to do it. So a typical good way to measure aerobic activity a lot of times is if it's being done for longer than 2 minutes. So if you can think of activities such as swimming or even basketball, cross-country running, wrestling, things like that where they're being done for longer than 2 minutes are things that are going to be aerobic. On the opposite hand, so there's some examples here again. And some of those are going to make sense to you and some of them aren't. And some I can see some of you are probably already pondering, well, what my sport's not on there, what is that? So anaerobic is without oxygen. It's things where there's typically, they're usually done for a certain amount of time. Like in football is a great example of an anaerobic sport. So even though your heart rate and you're going to be burning a lot of calories over a long period of time during a practice or a game, the intensity of which usually only lasts anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds per play. And so therefore it's not actually using oxygen and it's not aerobic. It's not something that's going to maintain that heart rate up. It goes up real high real quick and then it comes back down for a rest period. So lifting weights also is another example of that. So here's some other examples of anaerobic sports. So this is just an example of an explanation between our anaerobic and aerobic, and you can pause there if you want to review over that. So there are 5 parts of an exercise program. So body composition is how we measure at the beginning and at the end. So in order to have a goal of where you're going, so we go back to goal setting and we want it to be specific. So currently my body fat percentage is 25%, and I want my body fat percentage in 6 months to be 18%. That is a very specific goal-driven program to where I'm here and I want to go to here. That's the point of body composition, as you see there on your screen. The 4 down below are how you actually get there. So muscular strength and endurance, and then you also have cardiorespiratory endurance and flexibility. Those are all things that should be part of a program, and I would even argue in a minute that there's one more important than any, especially as you get older. So body composition, as you go through this, is the ratio of lean body tissue to fat tissue. So if I'm 25% body fat, I'm 75% lean muscle tissue. It doesn't mean muscle, it just means lean muscle tissue. So that could be bones, organs, muscles, your brain, things like that, your skin. That's lean tissue versus fat is the actual fat weight that is within our body. We should have some, but there does need to be a recommended level. Otherwise, we're going to start running into those overweight or even obese categories. So this is an example of what lean body tissue should look like in males and females. Typically around your age, you're going to notice that males' percentages are lower, and the reason for that is for one reason. It's because women give birth, and so they need to be able to have the ability to carry more fat weight than men do, and processes with that. So as you look through this, you can kind of get an idea of where you might be. I know where I'm at on that. It's an area that it's something that needs to be improved, but also when I was in high school, I probably would have been in that 6 to 13 or 14 to 17 range. And then over time, because of lifestyle, that's not been exactly where I wanted it to be. So again, it's hard to maintain that, but it can happen rather quickly over time if you don't watch those things. Next is muscular strength, and this is just basically how much weight can you lift one time. So if you pick up a couch or if you do a bench press one time, that is your muscular strength. That's how we are measuring muscular strength. Muscular endurance is how many repetitions you can perform of a certain amount of weight. So if I could bench press 150 one time, but I could not do it a second time, that would be my strength. So muscular endurance might be I've only got 85 pounds in the bar, and how many times could I rep that out over and over and over again. That would be a level of my muscular endurance. And there's room for both within a workout program. You'll see that if you've got weights or if you've ever worked out in a weight room, most of things are driven by sets and repetitions. And so if you're lifting a heavier weight, it's more strength driven. If you're lifting a lighter weight, it's more endurance driven. Third would be cardiorespiratory endurance, and this is how long you can perform a specific aerobic exercise. So a good example is running or swimming. How long can you actually go through that? And this before your body's just going to kind of break down and really tell you that you need to stop. So, this is something that a cross-country runner does rather frequently and rather easily in some cases, just simply because they've done a good job of training their body to maintain that level. So cardiorespiratory endurance does not have anything to do with speed. It has everything to do with how long can I last during this activity. It's something that you'd want to work up to. So someone who has not worked out at all, I wouldn't encourage running. I would encourage just kind of walking maybe for 10 minutes, and the next day try to go to 15, and then kind of go up from there and kind of alternate and do some different things to kind of help you improve your cardiorespiratory endurance. All right, this next one I personally believe might be, if not the most important, it's at least one of the top two. I really feel like as I'm getting older, this one has more day-to-day effect on me than anything else. The purpose of exercise and working out is really, to me, is so that you can maintain what you're doing throughout a day and handle that. And if you're not flexible, it's really going to inhibit your ability to perform some of those activities. Simple things like putting clothes on, bending down, picking something up off the ground, tying your shoes, putting your socks on. Those are things that none of us in here probably even think twice about, but it's something as you get older, it becomes more of a challenge and something that we don't spend a lot of time doing. Yoga is a really good way to improve your flexibility, but simply spending time after you get done exercising to maintain your range of motion or improve it is really, really important. All right, so I'm going to pause here. Okay, so if you will go into Classroom and then click on the exercise activity quiz, it'll go through some things there for you to take a look at. Can I decipher what's aerobic, anaerobic, things like that. So go ahead and do that now. All right, that's it for this video. So you can obviously go back and get some definitions or pause, take a look at some links as this resource. All right, see you guys next time.